I figured out how to give my minions rage. It's actually pretty easy to give a maximum rage. So if you see them right now, they're glowing red, right? And if you look at this bar, I've got 16 stacks. And every time I press my potion, I get 8 stacks. And right now, I've got 30 stacks, right? Super interesting. This is a really interesting tech. You know, you can add rage to your minions and to your allies, and it sustains. But it is at the cost of a belt and an anointment and your potion slot. So this could be good for you if you're CI and you're a lich, and we'll go into other use cases and stuff, and I'll show you the damage comparisons, whether if you want to use this or use your Darkness Enthroned belt. Because I'm not using the Darkness Enthroned because I don't have the belt slot. I have to use the umbilical cord. I lose 1 ant. But then is 30 stacks of rage better than having an extra ant? Right? It really depends. You know, more minions is preferably better, so that way your DPS is spread throughout. But if you care about rage and more damage, this is a really cheap alternative, because the Darkness Enthroned belt with 2 Ralakeshes is super expensive. This umbilical cord and the potion and the From Nothing diamond to get this rage onto your minions is at most 3 annulment orbs. So it's a really big like cost to performance ratio that really could be considered depending on your build, because not only do you give your allies rage, if let's say you're a build that's not minion based, you can give yourself rage, and it's a huge multiplier. So I'm going to show this again, right? Every time I press the button, you see 8 stacks happen, right? There's another stack, and another stack. Then if we look at the mandible's damage, oh wait, no, here it is. Wait, did the stacks go away? There you go. So it's 159k without rage, and then 159k with rage, 122 without. And if you look at it, that rage actually stacks with the chaos damage on lich, and this is going to be important, right? So I actually gain more chaos damage because the rage affects the total physical damage. So let's do it again just to show you that if you're using Unholy Might or gain extra damage, it actually scales with the rage gain. So here's 30 stacks of rage. We look at the basic attack. Look at the chaos damage, right? 33k chaos damage in addition with that. See, so you see how this goes down? So the reason why I'm showing you that is there is a support gem that allows chaos damage to stack with your ignite, which is Xoph's Pyre. So big shout out to Ryndar, you know, a good friend of mine who put me in on this. He has his own build. I have a link in the bio if you're interested in looking at his Infernal Legion setup. It's super sick. It's great. So big shout out to him. But if you look at Xoph's Pyre, chaos damage from hits with supported skills also contribute to flammability and ignite magnitudes. Supported skills gain 20% of fire damage as extra chaos damage. So I don't have the Infernal Legion on right now, but you put this on. They've got Infernal Legion, right? The mandibles have a large life pool, 31k. So they're getting that burning damage of 31k, but with Xoph's Pyre, that chaos damage that you get from hits from a lich with Unholy Might and an Ever-Grasping Ring plus Blackened Heart is around 70% extra chaos damage. That applies to your ignite magnitude. So you can use that as a way to scale the ignite with the rage and the chaos damage. I'm going to have a separate build for that, you know, in the future. I just kind of wanted to show this because the way with the playstyle is really simple. You think you'd have to be chugging potions, which you kind of do, right? I try to treat it like Pain Offering. So I'll summon a Pain Offering, and then I'll just slam a bunch of potions. Instantly 30 rage. And the duration lasts however long the potion goes. I'll talk about the mechanics in a second. Right? So if the potion is not... If the effects of the potion are gone, you'll start to degen. The rage stays right now because I'm under the effect of the potion. So you could do a thing where you're constantly pressing it every second, you know. It's kind of a pain in the ass if you do it that way. My preferred method is I just run, I see a pack, and I slam two potions. Because the effect of the potion that I'll show you right now is no inherent rage loss during the effect and gain 5 rage when hit by an enemy. So this in combination with the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord says your life flask also applies to your minions. So your minions gain the effect, right? So when your minions get hit, they also gain 5 rage. So there's no way to see, but then they're always getting hit. They're always in the front line. You know, so they're gonna gain rage as long as the effect of the potion is on them. So that way, what I'll do is I'll hit two charges, hit them at 16, and then I'll just, you know, keep feeding him potion charges. It is a little bit annoying. I play on a controller, so it's really easy for me to just spam as many potions as I need. On a mouse and keyboard, you know, you got to be chill pan, you got to be pressing, doing all that stuff. So it's kind of a trade-off. The other thing too is that this potion builds charges really, really fast. It's kind of absurd how fast it builds charges. After every engagement with a decent sized density, you'll have full charges. So it's easy to just press the potion button twice, you know, press it again. The other thing too with the usage of the potion is there's no cast time, and you could use it in the middle of a roll. You can use it as you're casting, you know, other abilities during your weapon swap. So you can just be pressing the rage button whenever you need to, right? And you get your 30 stacks of rage. You can maintain it. It's really fun to play. Like, I've gotten used to it. The thing is, you got to bind it to a good key when you press it. Now, the other things, let's go over how it actually works, right? So the things you need if you want to do this is you're going to need this belt. And my recommendation for this belt is you get one that is Kringle Divine down. So you see how this is from 40 to 30 reduced flash effect duration? I have one that's 24%. So you can pick this up, you know, get it for as cheap as you can get it. These guys are cheap, so it doesn't cost a lot. It's not like getting a Darkness Enthroned. And then minions cannot die while under the effect of the life flask. So that's kind of nice, right? You're just pressing this rage button, you know, they're getting attacked, whatever, they're not dying. There's extra maximum minion life, so if you're using Infernal Legion, this helps out. This stacks with your Infernal Legion. And then this 30% increase flash charges gained, you want this to be 30 as high as you can get. So that way, when you gain charges back, it happens really fast. And then the other step, right? The other thing that you're going to need is this Gargantuan Life Flask, this Blood of the Warrior. So 90% less life flask recovered. I'm using this because I'm on CI, so I don't have a life pool anyway. So it's really good to have. If you're also on CI and you're not a minion build, this is another way just for you to spam and then gain rage, right? So 22% of damage taken during the effect is recouped as life. That's great. That's also survivability for your minions, right? And then gain 5 rage when hit by an enemy during the effect. Now, if we look at it, what I have here is increased duration as much as possible. You can't Kringle Divine this higher, so it is what it is. But you want as much rage as you can get during the effect. And then whatever numbers. The thing is, because of the reduced duration on the belt, right? With this 24% reduced, the actual time, instead of 7.5 seconds of my flask, is actually just 7 seconds. But that's also with an additional point. And I'll talk about this. So what's the other piece that you need, right? Once you have the belt and the life flask, is you're going to have to get this anointment, Blood of Rage. So what Blood of Rage does is gain 8 rage when you use a life flask. So that's how I'm getting rage on life flask usage and not on when I get hit. So I have full control of maximum stacks of rage when I need it. And the other thing that you're going to want, right? This is the part where it's going to cost points. You're going to need a From Nothing Diamond that gives you Bulwark. So that From Nothing Diamond, it costed me when I got it, I think like 2 annulment orbs, right? So it's not the cheapest, but it's not a Darkness Enthroned belt. And then what I have anointed is 10% increased flash duration. This gives me from 6 seconds to 7 seconds. And then these 4 points. 16% increased presence damage for my allies. Warlord Leader, 40% increased damage along with 40 presence area. And then this guy too, so allies and presence deal 8% increased damage, right? And then you need Warlord Berserker. This one says rage you gain is also granted to allies in your presence. So this is how whenever I do Blood of Rage, this anointment, that 8 points of rage goes to my allies, so, or my minions. Now you can get the effect if you remove the belt and still give rage to your allies. The problem is the degen happens right away. So you see I still have rage on, but they're gonna run out. I'm lying, hang on. Here, you'll see it better here. See, they're already back to 121. Hold on, let's throw it again. So if I have rage, see, it's back to 121. It doesn't even stay very long. The reason why the rage doesn't stay long, because if you look at how rage works, says grants 1% more attack damage per 1 rage to a maximum of 30. You lose 1 rage every 0.1 seconds if you have not taken damage or gain rage in the last 2 seconds. So if you don't use only 1 hit every 5 seconds can cause a gain rage. If you don't use the umbilical cord, your minions are not going to gain this effect of no inherent loss of rage during the effect. So you can use the darkness enthroned, right? And still have the maximum amount of ants. You would just use your potion in a different manner. Instead, during a fight, boss fight, you would slam potions and then you would just press it every second to maintain those stacks of rage, just to get a burst damage of like 3 seconds of 30% max rage. If you wanted to play it like that, I prefer to use the umbilical cord, so that way there's less management and you can kind of just press it so often. They keep the effect and the rage is really nice. So now here's the damage portion, right? Is it better to have 4 ants with rage or 5 ants without rage? What does actually more damage? So let's do this math real quick. Okay, full rage, do this again. 159 times 4. It was 636. All right, 159k times 4. 636. Okay, so now 5 ants, right? Without rage, 5 ants. What do we got? What's my DPS? 121. 121 times 5. Is it more than 636? 121 times 5. It's less than 636, right? So there's actually more overall single target damage if you have this belt versus having a darkness enthroned and getting 1 more ant. So I'll leave that to you to kind of decide. You know, it's still pretty good. It's annoying. You do have to maintain like the amount of rage, and also we're not, you know, dealing with the darkness enthroned and then putting as much muster as you can to determine how much. So you got to do the math yourself to see if it's really like worth it for you. And then if you do it with pain offering, right? Pain offering, maximum rage. Oh, I don't even have the belt on. All right, put this on, put on the belt. Pain offering, maximum rage, 240. So it's 240, yeah, 241 about. So 240 times 4. All right, that's how much I would be doing. 240k times 4. 960, right? 960 DPS with 4 ants. But once you put in all these guys, you know, well, I don't have enough. What is it with muster? $291. So 291 times 4, right? With complete muster, it's about 1 million, 1.1 million. And you can see this is with my ants being a level 32. And the big takeaway too is, man, being able to scale the ignite with the chaos damage, with the rage, is pretty good. It's pretty huge. So I'll leave it up to you to decide. You can try it out. It's pretty fun. It's also really really nice is if you can't get this belt. If you can't get a darkness enthroned because it's too expensive, you know, you're still kind of working your way up. Here's a really cheap alternative for some good power, right? You got to get this from nothing. Now it isn't free, right? You got to have an open jewel socket. So I'm pathing this way, getting this jewel socket, putting that from nothing in there, getting all these extra points, slamming this anointment on, and then that allows me to get the infinite stacks of rage. So hope you enjoyed that. It's pretty good. I'll do a map, do it with them, and yeah, check it out. Here we are in a T15 map. These are the mods, right? It's a 6 mod desecrated map. It's got some pretty good rarity, really nice quantity. Delirium, I used not paranoias, I used greeds, so it's like 30% delirium. And then my setup is I use 3 ants, and then I have that other set of spirit for these guys. I still like to use storm mages. You can use whatever you like. The other thing I forgot to mention with rage is that it doesn't apply to casters. Rage only applies to melee attackers or physical attack damage. So unfortunately the storm mages don't get a benefit, and neither do my powered zealots on my weapon swap. But as far as mapping, I used to have elemental armament in here for extra damage with different elements being casted, right? But now I found it faster to just use Infernal Legion and the Xoph's Pyre. So I have to figure out how the best way to test how much the ignite is being scaled with the chaos damage from this, and then on top of that with the rage. But let's do this map. We'll go through it, kind of show you. So, right? So I can give him full stacks of rage. And then if you look at what I want you to see is how fast the charges just like stack up. 6 charges already, you know, keeping the rage up, just kind of running through. And then on top of that, your unearth